what? You're on Housewives for over a decade and that is what you're going to be upset about? That was clearly a comment in jest. And I don't know if it's just because of the history, of the 2022 reunion where Kathy and Kyle were really not getting along and Dorit didn't stick up for Kyle in that moment. But that to me felt like Kyle was looking for something to get mad at Dorit about. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. And how many seconds am I in? Like 5. And I told myself I wasn't going to slouch today because I'm working on my posture. So girlies, sit up, roll the shoulders back. It's uncomfortable, I know, but every time I post a picture and I'm like slouching forward, I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm like, girl, get it right, get it tight. Lots to discuss. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills premiere was unbelievable. We have a lot of other pop culture things to get to, but of course, the top of the show rant is of the utmost priority. And let me tell you, I've had a great week. Been a while since I said that, huh? Been a while since we've all felt like we've had a semi-decent week where we're not just doggy paddling through life. That's been my life the past couple of months, just doggy paddling away. But no, this week was a great week. And let me tell you why. 2 life-changing TikTok scrolls this week, which normally it's a doom scroll. You get on TikTok before you go to bed, 6 hours later, you're still up watching about how the world is going to end in 2025. No, that didn't happen to me. I had 2 opposite of doom scroll, a hope scroll. I'm slouching again, so let me lean back. A hope scroll, a euphoric scroll, some would say. 2 life-changing TikToks that I just stumbled upon this week that changed my life. It's going to change your life. First things first, fuzzy sock overnight curls. Yeah, I did it. The viral trend. I don't know if you saw it, but I was scrolling on one of those nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I see this girl with a fuzzy sock in her mouth. And I immediately think, this is something I should not be watching. This is something that might get banned on TikTok, shoving a fuzzy sock down your throat. But I was intrigued, kept watching. And this girl had part of the fuzzy sock in her mouth and she really pulled it so it stretched out. And like I said, something I felt like I should not be watching. But she then proceeds to wrap her hair around the fuzzy sock and then tuck it up and under. She wakes up the next morning and she's Farrah freaking Fawcett. Blowout city, heatless curls that look phenomenal. I told you last week I went through a 31-year-old life crisis. I don't really know what decade. I know what decade it is. It's not a midlife. It's not a quarter life. It's somewhere in the middle. And I told you I almost got myself a bob, which if you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm also testing that out. I got my little fringes down to see how the bob would look. Anyways, where was I going with that? Oh, ever since I got layers in my hair when I went through my whatever life crisis, I have no idea how to style my hair. Nothing's working. Everything looks stupid. I try to do a little blowout. Doesn't work. The rollers don't work for me. So I saw the fuzzy socks and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try the fuzzy socks. Would you believe me if I told you I woke up like Farrah freaking Fawcett? Curls for days. I was curled to the high heavens. And honestly, it was a little much for me at first. I was like, I look like Shirley Temple. It's 2024. I can't go walking around looking like Shirley Temple. First it was a bob. Now it's Shirley Temple hair. But put a little flat iron to it, just a quick little run through and shook to the core. We'll be doing it forever. So that was life-changing moment number 1 on TikTok this week. Life-changing moment number 2. I want you to think about, as an adult, whether you are single, married, or have kids, what is something that you have to do every single week that you hate? You have to do it in order to survive. You need it to live, but you have to do it every single week. And every single week you're asking yourself the same question. What is it? What do I make for dinner? What do I make for dinner? I don't know. I have fajitas 4 out of 7 days of the week. And then the other 3 days, I have no idea what's going on. So I was on my second scroll of hope on TikTok and I saw I don't know if you girlies are using ChatGPT, which like you should be using ChatGPT if you're not using ChatGPT because it helps me in every aspect of my life. But I saw this TikTok that said, no matter what your fitness goals are, if you want to like be in a calorie deficit, or if you don't want to eat dairy, or if you're a vegan or vegetarian, or if you just have no idea what to cook like me, you live off carbohydrates, but you don't know what to cook, go to ChatGPT. Type in, make me a weekly dinner meal plan from a Mediterranean diet. It will give you 7 recipes to make for the entire week. Not only that, the hope continues. Justice for all, because when you type into that prompt, now make it a grocery list. You have now just figured out what you're going to eat for the rest of the week, and you did your grocery list without even having to think about it. You know what I did? I said, make me lunches, because lunches are the absolute worst, right? Make me healthy lunches using 15 ingredients. Gave me 7 different things to make for lunch, and then gave me the 15 ingredients that I needed to buy from the grocery store. So you're welcome. Don't we feel hopeful? Don't we feel alive now that we know that we're going to be okay? We don't have to keep curling our hair, and we don't have to keep making grocery lists. So you're welcome. Let's get into the pop 3. These are the biggest headlines in reality TV and pop culture. We have a new golden engaged couple in Joan and Chock. Shocker, right? Ooh, I had no idea that Joan was going to pick Chock at the end of the Golden Bachelor. Said no one ever. Like, we all knew that, right? We all saw the writing on the wall. But now the question is, who's going to be the next Golden Bachelor? And there's a bit of a curveball in the running for the next Bachelorette. So when you look at the Golden Bachelor, honestly, our options are getting fewer and fewer, right? Because Jonathan would be my first pick. Jonathan hard launched a relationship. Mark, Kelsey's dad, is in a relationship. Pascal, I just don't think passes the vibe check of a Bachelor. Jordan has been seen a lot with Leslie. Charles L., our hero, our icon, our legend, said he can't because the fandom is too much, which, like, yes, true. That leaves us with Guy. But here's why, everybody is saying in my comment section, it's going to be Guy. It's going to be Guy. I don't think that it's going to be Guy because there's a lot of bad PR around Guy. There is now this happened a while ago, but former temporary restraining order from his ex-wife, but also this date from hell that has gone viral on social media of this woman saying, hey, I went on 2 dates with Guy. We went to the movies. I got butter popcorn. He started licking my fingers on our second date. So if that doesn't give you the heebie-jeebies, if that doesn't make the hairs on your arm, if you haven't shaved them, stand up, I don't know what will. Now, I'm not going to go deeper into that story. We did on the Patreon this week. So if you're not on the Patreon, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks, the Bachelor tier is where to be. But I don't know who it's going to be. They could pull a Dancing with the Stars and not really care about the bad PR that is attached to Guy at the moment because, they had Anna Delvey on Dancing with the Stars. It got people talking and people ended up watching. I mean, how many times do they tell us we're breaking voting records, which we're going to get into Dancing with the Stars at the end of the episode. But I just don't see them necessarily going that route. So there's also a bit of a curveball coming potentially for the next Bachelorette. And that is that people want Ilona Maher to be the next Bachelorette. She is a fan favorite on Dancing with the Stars. She has millions of TikTok followers. Now, of course, she's not your run-of-the-mill runner-up, on Grant season of The Bachelor, which they normally pull somebody from a previous season. But it's starting to get some traction amongst fans, right? So it started with this Good Morning America interview back in October. Her and Alan were on, and one of the hosts asked, would you do The Bachelorette? And she was like, all about it. She's like, I will date 30 men in America if that's what America wants me to do. Like, I will take one for the team and I will date 30 men. Very funny answer, right? Well, then she did this TikTok with Joey Grosday, our former Bachelor, who was also on Dancing with the Stars with Ilona. And he was showing her the ropes on how to be the Bachelorette. We have that video on the Patreon too if you want to go check it out there. Very funny. I don't know if it's adding fuel to the fire or shooting her shot. But then you get this week's Dancing with the Stars episode, and Derek says, the beginning of your dance, Alona, looked like a rose ceremony, so there's definitely seeds being planted. I don't know. It is an ABC show, so I don't know if like the casting producers are the same for both shows, but I think it would be amazing. I think it would be something. We need a shake up, we need a shake up. I just feel like the Bachelor and the Bachelorette's losing its star power a little bit. We used to get so excited about the announcements of who the next Bachelorette was, when it was Hannah Brown and Pilot Pete, and even, Matt James, because we all love Tyler Cameron and we all came to know Matt James through Tyler during quarantine and stuff. So it used to be such a spectacle. And then like the Colton era came, or not Colton, Clayton. Then the Clayton era came, and the Gabby and Rachel era came, and the Zach, and it just started to kind of get stagnant, in my opinion, and this would perk us right up. Alona Mar, very much so a Caitlin Bristow energy, funny, self-deprecating. I love her. So I don't know. I think it would be great. Do I think it will actually happen? In my heart of hearts, like probably not, because they never listen to anything the fans want. But also I guess we should see how Grant season shakes out and see if there's any, contenders there. Let's move on. The other two stories in the pop 3 are a little bit more on the serious side. So let's start with One Direction reuniting at Liam Payne's funeral. So Liam Payne's funeral was in London this past week. Harry Styles, Niall Horan, Louis Tomlinson, and Zayn Malik were all there. Simon Cowell, his ex, Cheryl Cole, who he has a 7-year-old son with, Bear, they were there. And also his current girlfriend, Kate Cassidy, they were all in attendance. Now, the last time that all the boys were together was during the On the Road Again tour in March of 2015. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me that the rest of the boys were in attendance, although we do know that there's a lot of complexities in their relationships, amongst all of them. But at the end of the day, I do truly believe that they were brothers. They grew up together. They had this meteoric rise to fame together. They experienced things together that nobody else in the world experiences together. And of course, the flip side of that coin is there probably are some bigger fallouts. But, they were able to come together for this day, which I had no doubt that they would. But, when Liam first passed away, I kept seeing this trend on TikTok, and honestly, it pissed me off. I didn't like it at all. I would, our whole For You page was filled with Liam Payne content. But one of the things that stuck out to me, and a lot of people were doing it, was saying they would like post a video of themselves and they would say, the only 1D reunion we're getting is going to be at Liam's funeral. And every time I would see it, it pissed me off. Like, this man just tragically passed away and you're worried about seeing One Direction in concert or 1D reunion. And just to make the comparison, I really didn't like it. I thought it was in bad taste. I know fans were grieving the loss. And although I did find it distasteful, that turns out to be I don't want to say the truth, but it is what brought them back together. I wouldn't call it a reunion. They reunited under terrible circumstances, but they all were together again. And even though I'm sure it was immensely painful moment for all of them to be together and to go through this together, I also hope that going through it together would bring some type of healing to them. Not even something that can really be explained, because I believe you can have both of these big emotions at the same time of, pain and sorrow, but also a moment of healing, to be there with the rest of the band, all 4 of them together, to feel that bond, to forget for a brief moment about all the disagreements along the way, and just be able to stand together and stand tall in that moment. I could see that being a really powerful moment for them, and something that could bring them back together. And I hope that it was. I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, do a reunion tour. Like, that's not on my mind at all. I think obviously they have to get through this grieving season together. But I was glad to see that all of them showed up. Number 3, people are dragging John Stamos this week on social media because he posted a photo wearing a bald cap to support Dave Coulier on Dave's cancer journey. So in case you missed that, our favorites from Full House, Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey, Uncle Joey, Dave Coulier, announced last week that he's battling stage 3 non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So this week, John Stamos posted a photo wearing a bald cap to show solidarity with Dave. This is what the caption said. Nothing like throwing on a bald cap and flexing some Photoshop skills to show some love and solidarity with my bro, D. Coulier. You're handling this with so much strength and positivity. It's inspiring. I know you're going to get through this, and I'm proud to stand with you every step of the way. I love you. Fans were not happy about this. Clapping back in the comment section, saying that wearing a bald cap is a shallow gesture. Others finding it insulting. And, this has become more popular in recent years where some people, if someone close to them is having to go through chemo and they're losing their hair, they will shave their head to make them feel less alone, for moral support. And like John said here, to stand in solidarity. To me, it's the terminology of, first of all, it's posting the picture on social media, which I'll get to that in a second, but it's also the terminology of the caption that like really rubs me the wrong way. Nothing like throwing on a bald cap and flexing some Photoshop skills to show some love and solidarity with my brother. Like the magnitude of the situation to me does not warrant just throwing on a bald cap. To me, that's like offensive. Now, I do think that Dave did not take it offensively. In fact, his wife commented on the post and said, I really hope the people who chose to say cruel things about my husband, who flew across the country and did what he could to bring joy to his friend going through chemo, look inward instead of tearing down others. Take that time to think about how you can bring joy to the people you love. I think that's John's wife that said that. Look, I'm not in the room with them. So I can't say how Dave took it or how he didn't take it. I feel like there could be a possibility of a world where John comes in with the bald cap and Dave gets a big laugh out of it, right? But I just feel like if they are worried about public backlash, don't put it on the internet. Not everything has to be on the internet, because that reads, oh, look what I did. I came over to see my friend Dave and I put a bald cap on to make him feel better, even though I'm going to take it off at the end of the night, go home, wash my luscious hair, and look at me, internet. That's what I did. Like that's the vibe that it's getting. And I'm not saying that he did do it with that intention, but it's naive to think that people won't take it that way, right? Unless you post a video of John walking in the room and Dave having a big laugh about it, people are going to interpret it as being insulting. So that's just your PSA for the day. Not everything has to be put on the internet. And if you're a famous person specifically and you don't want public opinion on it, you probably shouldn't put it on the internet. Okay? It is an option. It is an option in 2024 to not put things on the internet. Almost 2025. So let's take that into the new year, shall we? We shall. Let's get into the deep dive. We are digging deep this week because our girls are back. Dorit Kemsley is back and better than ever, if you ask me, because we got the season premiere of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Let me just start by saying this. I am currently having a complicated relationship with the Housewives franchises, right? Roni's horrible. Roni sucks. Don't put it on in my presence unless you want me to have a visceral reaction. The Real Housewives of Orange County is good, but I also just feel kind of over it. I mean, we're at the third part of the reunion. I think it's pretty standard to be over it by this particular moment in time. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City started out with a bang, but I also am starting to feel like they too are a bit contrived. I feel like They pick fights because they think we want to see them pick fights. And sometimes it gets hard to follow. Like, so many people are fighting at one time. I'm like, I have no idea what is happening at this particular moment. So I'm just like not all that into the Housewives right now in general. Now, I will say that historically, Beverly Hills is my favorite franchise. So would I ever abandon them, jump ship? Absolutely not. I am there. I am in it. But I am cautiously optimistic, I should say. I don't want to be overly excited about a good premiere because I feel like we could be, halfway through the season like we are in Salt Lake City, and I'm starting to lose interest. But a lot of things happen in this premiere. And obviously, the big story, there's two really, but they both have to deal with Dorit, that being her separation from her husband of 9 years, Paul Kemsley, otherwise known as PK, and also her fraying relationship with longtime friend Kyle Richards. Now, this is something that I've been afraid to admit, and sometimes I do, and then I take it back, because I did last season. Dorit has always been like one of my favorite housewives, because I see what she can do. I see the potential in her. I love her extraness. I just think she's funny. I think she makes for good TV. But then sometimes she falls in the shadows. And then other times she really puts her foot in her mouth. And so, I can like a housewife and think that they're great with not agreeing with everything they do or say. That's how I feel about Dorit Kemsley. But as a longtime Dorit Stanny Stan, I'm happy that I feel like this is my moment. This is my time to shine. Like, oh, look at me. I always knew Dorit was going to come into her greatness era. And that's where we are. But this episode kicks off with an interesting first scene. And I really think that it was just a foundational scene, because I don't understand why, when you have people like Erica and Dorit and Kyle, that you would start at Jennifer Tilly's house with Sutton. Jennifer Tilly, who is a friend of, it's her first season. And I'm like, why are they starting the show with Sutton going to Jennifer Tilly's house? I mean, most times we don't get introduced to new housewives or friends of until like halfway through the season. But it's a highly anticipated season premiere, and that's how we're going to start. But I mean, it was foundational because I think A, it introduces you to a new character, and B, it sets up this party that Sutton is throwing, this surrealist themed party inspired by her love for Spain. So we know that that is coming, right? So Kyle and Sutton, if you remember, also their friendship was on the rocks at the end of last year's reunion, which at the end of last year's reunion, Sutton and Garcelle weren't even there because Sutton had to go to the hospital. She was okay. I think she was just dehydrated or something. But Sutton says, Kyle and I, we've reconnected. We cried some tears at dinner. I would be online shopping and I would want to send her stuff and I couldn't. And that is so real. Isn't that so real? Like when you're in a fight with a friend and you're not speaking to them and you do miss them because you're scrolling on Zara. Sutton's Jack is not scrolling on Zara, but like I, in my peasantry, am scrolling on Zara and I'm like, oh, they would like that. And you're like, oh, well, I can't send them that because they're not talking to me right now. So I get it. And I'm glad that Sutton and Kyle were able to mend fences, something that Kyle and Dorit were not able to do. So then we get Erica and Dorit and they're shopping. Erica's reflecting on the upcoming challenges with Tom's trial, which is also wild because we now know that he's been through trial and he was found guilty. And Erica has done a really good job of being able to distance herself. I know people don't really love her or maybe even like her, but I do have to give her props because, her feet were held to the fire. She answered any questions that she could have and she came out on the other side of it. I don't know how much, truly how much on the other side of it she actually is. And I don't think anybody will ever know. But being able to withstand that for years, you can remember she filed for divorce in 2020. So it's been a long time and she made it out the other side of that. But the shocker comes where Dorit reveals on camera to Erica that she and PK have agreed to separate. And it's so interesting because normally these types of decisions don't get made on camera and don't get told on camera, right? We see like headlines come out about it or whatever, and that's how we learn about it. But I just feel like having that reaction from Erica of Dorit saying to her, by the way, PK and I have separated, and this is the first time I'm telling you, was refreshing to see. And Erica's like, I'm going to cry. That's my Erica impersonation. I should do it a little lower. I'm going to cry. Which is a stark contrast to the BravoCon incident, the debacle that Erica poured gasoline on the fire, where Andy asks her, what Beverly Hills couple do you think is headed for Splitsville next? She walks up and she says, Dorit and PK. And an iconic Dorit confessional where she walks up and is delivering the line, and what does she say at the end? That's not a showman. That's a fill in the blank. I'm not going to call you that because I don't think that about you. But, Dorit says at BravoCon, I don't think she saw something that I didn't. I don't think she knew something. I just think that, she did know that there was trouble in paradise and she answered it with some shade. So I'm not mad at her about that, which I think is really interesting when you look at all the reasons that Kyle is mad at Dorit and really vice versa. For Dorit not to be mad at Erica about something like that, I think it says something. I'll get to that in a little bit, but Dorit gets emotional and, every 5 seconds, every time she's talking to someone new, it's PK's an alcoholic. PK's an alcoholic. We were getting in these bad fights, these blow-up fights, and I don't want this toxic energy around my kids. Meanwhile, Dorit is also trying to explain to Erica the situation that her and Kyle are in because Erica's going to go see Kyle next. She's like, should I talk about this with her? And she's like, absolutely not. Our relationship is unraveling. Dorit is accusing Kyle of using her as a friend when it's convenient and then dismissing her feelings when things get tough. There's drama surrounding Kyle's text message, which Dorit read out loud at the reunion, causing Kyle to feel betrayed. If you don't remember, basically, Dorit and Kyle weren't in a great place at the reunion, but that hadn't played out on camera. Kyle had sent Dorit a text saying, hey, I don't want to talk about this today. People don't know. It wasn't on camera. Let's just not bring it up. And Dorit is like, that's manipulative. That's me not being truthful. That's me not being authentic. We're not in a good place. So I am going to talk about it. Kyle is defensive about that, saying she didn't want their struggles aired on television, and now Dorit is trying to humiliate me or paint me as this master manipulator, which Dorit does use those words in the episode and also says, this relationship is unbalanced. Kyle is free to do as she pleases while I'm held to these impossible standards. There's a whole string of events that happen between Kyle and Dorit that lead to this moment. And what's interesting about it is in order to tell the story, you have to break the fourth wall. There's a lot of Watch What Happens Live content, Bravo content, Amazon Live content, like God forbid it happens anytime soon, but we will find out that Kyle Richards has gone on to be with the Lord on Amazon Live. That's the way that it's going to shake out. But anyways, it starts back 2 years ago at the reunion where Kyle and Kathy were not in a good place, and Dorit, I guess, didn't stick up for Kyle enough at the reunion. Then Dorit says on Watch What Happens Live, I feel replaced by Morgan Wade. Then Kyle says on Amazon Live that Dorit exaggerated their relationship, their friendship, and Dorit reading Kyle's text message at the reunion. The one thing that surprised me the most with this falling out between Kyle and Dorit was the rift that was caused at BravoCon when Andy asked Dorit, rank the Richards sisters from ones you like the most to the ones you like the least. It's a very typical Watch What Happens Live-esque question, right? She's being cheeky about it. She goes to take a sip of her drink and Kyle accidentally bumps her and knocks it over, spills it on her. And Dorit's like, well, now Kyle's last and Kathy is first. And Kyle was really upset by that. And I was thinking, what? Really? You're on Housewives for over a decade and that is what you're going to be upset about? To me, that was clearly a comment in jest. And I don't know if it's just because of the history, of the 2022 reunion where Kathy and Kyle were really not getting along and Dorit didn't stick up for Kyle in that moment. But that to me felt like Kyle was looking for something to get mad at Dorit about. And I do think it's a good example of what Dorit was trying to say about how the relationship feels unbalanced. Something like that causes a huge issue where they don't speak for months, but Kyle saying that Dorit exaggerated their friendship is supposed to be like all good and all cool. Like, this is Housewives 101. You can't get mad about that. If you're getting mad about that, girl, I don't know what to tell you. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you. And this is why I said, when you look, because both of these things happened at BravoCon where Erica delivered the line saying that PK and Dorit were going to split. Dorit's not mad at that. But Kyle is mad at Dorit for jokingly saying Kyle's last because she just spilled a drink on her. Doesn't make any sense to me. But Kyle is also navigating these big personal changes, which probably affects her mood. You know, Mauricio has officially moved out. It's just Portia and Sophia in the home. You know, there's the emotional strains of the show. Kyle is refusing to even say Morgan Wade's name on camera now, which is like, we're so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous. And Garcelle clocked her on it too, right? Because she's like, at the party, Kyle's like, you know, it caused a real issue with me and my friend. I'm not saying her name on purpose. And Garcelle's like, girl, Morgan has been here for a while, for a long time, and she's not going anywhere, sis. You did the music video, sis. What are you talking about? She who shall not be named. We all know. Like, the ship is sailed. The ship has sailed. Speaking of Garcelle, on the other hand, crushing it, surviving, booked, busy, beautiful, successful. And she had a really great reminder for us all. You know, she said, in Hollywood, you always hear, once you're 40 years old, that's it. You're done. You're dead. You're 6 feet under, pretty much. You don't work as much. You don't get cast in things as much. You're not as busy. She's like, look at me. I'm 50 and I am working more than ever, honey. I'm rolling in the dough. I'm directing this. I'm being successful on that. I'm walking this red carpet. I'm looking beautiful at that red carpet, you know? And that's just the mood I want us to bring into 2025, okay? It's not over. It's just beginning. Sutton also is remaining skeptical of Dorit's narrative, once again calling the situation smoke and mirrors. One of my favorite parts of the episode, and it's going viral for all the right reasons, is the day everyone finds out that PK and Dorit are getting separated. They're all reading the headline, and Dorit is chain smoking Marlboros. I can never say that word also. Can anybody? Is it Marlboro? Marlboros. It's hard to say as a non-smoker. She's puffing on those. She's the anxiety, the stress. It's really getting to her. She wanted to taste the disdain. She wanted to taste the stress, the pressure, the paparazzi chasing her. That's what she said on Watch What Happens Live. That the paparazzi were chasing me, so I had to pull out my pack of cigs. But anyways, everyone is reacting to that. And then in the lighter moment, she goes to Kathy Hilton. And Kathy is lounging. She's got liquid IVs pumping fluids in her. She's got her eye patches. She's got her mouth patches with an iced latte. Someone's literally feeding her iced latte. But, you know, she's offering one side of this conversation to Kathy about what went wrong with PK. He's an alcoholic. And I was thinking, like, are we going to get PK's side of the story? And wouldn't you know it? Flip of a switch, the boys are sitting down having lunch too, Mauricio and PK, which in my opinion, Mauricio and PK are just as much housewives as Dorit and Kyle at this particular moment in time. So Dorit's side of the story is a full-blown alcoholic. He's got avoidance issues. I'm a good listener. I don't get jealous when he goes out. He always wants me to go out and be social. That's not who I am anymore. I want to stay home with my babies. I would not have chosen this route. There's something between having an argument and getting separated. I stuck by your side through bankruptcy, through gambling debts, through a suspected DUI. PK, on the other hand, black and white. It's done, right? So he is sitting down with Mauricio. He's on the verge of tears, saying he's not doing well. A statement came out, and then he says that the kids don't know, which to each their own. And he says, when I got sober, I got clear-headed, and I realized just how many jabs we were taking at each other, and Dorit isn't able to listen, and I needed to figure out how much of these issues were me, how much of these issues were her. he realized he can't recover from the situation unless he puts some space between them. So he initiated, right? That's what we're all gathering from those two conflicting stories, was that he initiated this separation. So the episode builds to this dramatic sit down between Kyle and Dorit at this surrealist party where they all got antlers on her head. Dorit walks in like a flying saucer, and I loved it. I mean, I would never do it. I'm going crazy because I cut layers in my hair. I could never be like so confident as to walk in with a flying saucer on my head. But she's got a beret underneath it. So when she takes the saucer off, she still looks chic as can be in her beret. I'm sorry. She's iconic. But she comes in hot to talk to Kyle. Hello. That's what she says. Hello, Kyle. You know, it's like the new goodbye, Kyle. Hello, Kyle. That's what I'm going to do to David whenever I'm feeling passive aggressive. But she sits down with Kyle and she accuses her of tossing her to the side, saying, I feel discarded. I need to reevaluate our friendship entirely. You know, she references the Amazon Live drama as the breaking point, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, saying, I'm done, Kyle. I'm done feeling manipulated. I cannot even pretend to do a Dorit accent because none of us know what it is, right? No, none of us know what Dorit's actual accent is. But Kyle's like, what? You're not even acting like yourself, right? And she's like, yeah, because I'm done. I'm fed up. I'm over it. I'm not going to let you bulldoze me anymore. Both women acknowledge that they're hurt, but it's clear that the friendship is hanging by a thread, a proverbial thread, Dorit Kemsley would say. I feel like I always try to see things from both sides. Y'all know. Y'all already know. First and foremost, I think this went on entirely too long. And that's what really has caused it to be to the point of no return. I see myself as a Dorit in the fact that if one thing happens, I want to talk about it immediately. And squash it. I see myself as a Kyle because when I approached the conversation, you know, when Kyle approached Dorit, she was very calm, cool, collected. And she said, look, things have gotten lost in translation. I know that this was the moment that really hurt you. I know that there are things that hurt me. So what do we need to do? But unfortunately, Dorit wasn't at that place of being calm because it had gone on for so long. So I don't know. I think that's like my main takeaway is that you can't let things fester. Otherwise, you do get to a point of no return. Where it will lead, I mean, I feel like I've seen tons of interviews that they're still not friends. So I don't think there's going to be any resolution on this season of Beverly Hills. What else did I like about it? I liked Bose. We met the new housewife. She is the boss, right? Kathy Hilton was calling her boss as she was taking the extensions out of her hair at a party. You know, that's fine. So I like the cast. You know, initially I thought that it was going to be too small, 6 housewives, but I also feel like we have such a tenure with these 5, you know, and Bose making a big splash. You know, when she came in, it seems like she's very down to earth, even though she's like the ruler of the universe. So it seems the boss of everything. But yeah, there we go. I got to say, I'm not going to pull out the Team Kyle or Team Dorit in this particular moment. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. And then maybe I'll make a call. Let's get into final thoughts. The Dancing with the Stars semifinals. I was furious. We are down to the final 5. It's Riley and Steven. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. Riley and Steven, Danny and Whitney, Joey and Jenna, Chandler and Brandon, and Alona and Alan, right? 2 hours, 10 dances. We're getting to the final 4 to go to the finale. However, they did not do an elimination this week on Dancing with the Stars. We watched 2 hours. We watched 10 dances, frantic fingers, fast thumbs, texting our favorite dancers to whatever the freaking number is. I don't even know. To get to the end of it and be like, everybody's going. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. We're all going to the final of Dancing with the Stars. And I'm like, this is a waste of my time. I could have been watching Beverly Hills live in action. I could have been watching Roni, which like, no, that's not happening because cool girls don't watch Roni. So like, I'm not even going to go down that road. But I was just really annoyed by that. I think it's because everybody is such a fan favorite. Like, people love this cast, specifically the final 5. And, you know, every single week they're like, we're breaking voting records. So they didn't want to lose any fan bases, I guess, by eliminating one of them, even though I don't think they would. I feel like people that have watched it up until now will watch the finale, even if their favorite got eliminated. But they decided, everyone, it's the participation trophy. Dancing with the Stars 2024. I would have been sad had any of them gone home. I really like them, but like, it's the name of the game. I just feel like it was such a waste. Like, why even have a semifinals if you're not going to eliminate anybody? Why am I worried? My phone was dying. I ran upstairs to charge it to vote for Joey 10 times. Like, so annoying. First world problems. I do think that Riley and Steven would have gone home. That's just my guess. That's my educated guess. I love them. I had them in my final 4 from week 1. However, for as much as I love, and look, he danced blind, okay? She kicked his glasses right off of his head. I thought they broke. My heart was broken for Steven in that moment. I was like, his glasses, they literally were on his face sideways. And that does mess up your depth perception, right? Like, his glasses. And then they couldn't find them. And when they found them, I thought they were broken on the floor. I thought somebody literally stepped on them, but really it was just a reflection of the confetti that was on the floor. Anyways, he can't stay on tempo. And like, how do you go to the final when you can't stay on beat on Dancing with the Stars? It just seems like it's something that has to be. It has to be there. Anyways, 5 couples in the finale, 3 hours long. They want to keep smashing these voting records. Literally, Dancing with the Stars was public enemy number 1 in the Preston household this week. I screenshotted this conversation between David and I because I was just so annoyed. And of course, I have since deleted it, but it's not like we text all that much. David texted me at 10:32. What a waste of Dancing with the Stars texts. We broke the record for most votes. For what? Yeah, I agree. And he said nothing. I said for advertising dollars for the 3-hour finale. Anyways, here's my prediction for the final 5. Coming in 5th place will be Riley and Steven. Coming in 4th place will be Danny and Whitney. 3, Alona and Alan. 2, Brandon and Chandler. 1, the first ever Bachelor winner of Dancing with the Stars, Joey Grosday and his partner, Jenna Johnson. Those are my predictions. We'll check back next week to see if I'm right. Speaking of next week, we will have an episode. I know it is Thanksgiving week, but I know a lot of you are going to be driving to your mother-in-law's. Godspeed. I will be praying for you. You're going to need like a little bit of Zen before you walk into the mother-in-law's while she's getting the stuffing out of the physical turkey. So we will have an MPT. In the meantime, if you want Survivor recap, if you want Bravo Friday, go to the Patreon, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. Love you like a sis. Hoodies, you gotta get them. Great Christmas presents. You can get those at morganptalks.com. If you're a Lilas member, you get a discount because I love you more than everybody else. In the meantime, use ChatGPT for your grocery list, do the sock curls, and live your best life. Okay? See you next week. Love you like a sis.